Hello everybody, so welcome back to Léon Denis Online. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. How are you? I hope fine. So as I told you last time we met, we saw each other, we are going to start our study of the book After Death by Léon Denis. And we'll start today with the introduction. But before reading the introduction over here, I want to read the dedication he made in the book. So it is like that. It goes like this. To the noble and grand spirits who reveal to me the august mystery of destiny, the law of progress in immortality, whose teachings strengthen in me the sense of justice, the love of wisdom, the worship of duty, whose voices dissipated my doubts, appeased my concerns, to the generous souls who supported me in struggle, comforted me in adversity, and elevated my thoughts to the luminous heights where truth resides, I dedicate these pages. It's a very beautiful dedication. I'm sure you think so. So let's just pick up two little things he wrote here. The first one, he said, the grand spirits who reveal to me the august mystery of destiny. And that's something, you see, that this topic comes back over and over in Denis's work, this kind of thing, that the mystery of destiny, and also the law of progress in immortality. And why is that so? Because sometimes if we start to think a little bit, we tend to think, so it's destiny. What is destiny all about? It's a big mystery. We don't know why things happen the way they happen. We don't know why things are like that for us, why we don't get what we want to get, and etc. And most of the time we tend to think that, oh, see, life isn't fair. But why isn't life fair? That's something that we tend to think a lot, many times. Especially when we don't get something we want very and very much. We tend to say, well, if I didn't get it, why that person got and I haven't got it? Well, anyway, it's a big mystery. And, well, in this book, not only in this one, After Death, but also in many of the things he wrote afterwards, this thing is going to come back many and many times. And why? Well, because maybe he thought, and I think we must agree, you see, it's a big thing to talk about, really. Something else there is here in this dedication. It is written like that, okay, that he says, the worship of duty, and whose voices dissipated my doubts, appeased my concerns, to the general souls who supported me in struggle. So even though sometimes we think we are alone, we are never alone. There is always somebody with us. Well, God is always with us, see, comforting us and helping us in our struggles. So we can never, ever think we are alone, because we're not. Now, let's start with the introduction of the book. And in the very beginning, the very first line, he writes, I saw, lying in their shrouds of stone or sand, the famous cities of antiquity, Carthage, with its white promontories, the Greek cities of Sicily, Rome's countryside with its broken aqueducts and its open tombs. Well, here in the very beginning, he speaks about Carthage and Greece and also Rome. So the first thing he says here is what? He says, I saw lying in their shrouds of stone or sand the famous cities of antiquity, Carthage and the Greek cities of Sicily and Rome and so on. And why is it so? Well, first of all, what is Carthage, by the way? Where was it, and what kind of city was it? Well, Carthage was a very important city, a very important commercial city in antiquity. Okay, it was in the north of Africa, and it was really a very powerful one. Well, in fact, a very, let's say, it was a superpower of antiquity. And Rome, even before Rome, and Rome wanted to be in that position. So what happened? We had the Punic Wars, and in the 2nd century BC, Carthage was destroyed by Rome. In fact, you see, Rome was so into destroying Carthage that there is a very famous phrase in Latin that is delenda est Carthago, that it means something like, well, Carthage must be destroyed. And it was really destroyed, you see, because it burned for 6 days and 6 nights, and all the inhabitants were just slaughtered or taken into slavery. So it was a very important city, it was a superpower, and at the end there was nothing left of it. Not only of Carthage, why not? Because you see, let's imagine something. Rome was the superpower afterwards, and Greece had been the superpower, let's say. And then, what is left of Rome? What is left of Greece? What is left of Carthage? See, just ruins, nothing but ruins. And then we start thinking, well, as he says here, well, that's what I see from all these big cities. So is that really what we want to see after life? Let's say, not after that, after we have lived. When we die, we want to look back and just see, oh my, just take a look at everything that I built over there when I was on earth. Ruins, nothing but ruins. And I have brought here nothing but ruins. Well, then he goes on. I saw the last vestige of ancient cities, once human hives, and presently deserted ruins, calcinated by the burning caresses of the eastern sun. I evoked the multitudes that moved about and lived in those sites. I saw them stream along in my thoughts, together with the passions by which they were consumed, their hatred, their loves, their vanished ambitions, their triumphs and their failures, like smoke driven away by the breath of times. And again, as he goes on here, we just have to think about it, for example. So is that really what we want to take from life? Is that what we want to take, to put, let's say, in our luggage, in our bags? Because you see, when we die, what are we going to take from this planet? Nothing, if you think about it. So you see, all this over here, all these multitudes of people, everything they built over there in ancient times, for example, what exactly have they taken with them when they died? Nothing. And some people say, and I think it's a very good, let's say, metaphor to speak about it, for example. Why? Because you see, the more you put in your bag, the harder it is for you to leave the planet, to have a happy life after death, let's say, because your bag is too heavy, too heavy with things to carry. And that's a problem. And then, let's say what he says here. So where do humans rush to? Where do humans rush to? Where do we rush to? To get money? To get power? And is that really important for us after we pass away? Then he goes on and he says, someone you love is going to die. Leaning over him or her, heavy-hearted, you watch the shadows of the beyond stretching itself slowly over his or her features. It's something really powerful when you think about it. Yeah, because if we don't think about ourselves, everything we want so much in life, just think about it when you love a person very and very and very much, and that person dies, and you just see that life is just leaving that body, and what is left is nothing, it's just a corpse. And if you think there is nothing, absolutely nothing after this life here, it is something really sad and lonely, because you just feel, well, so everything we have built, everything we have done, everything we have, let's say, gone through was for nothing. And that's something very important to think, that, well, after death there is something, and that person who was with you here on this planet, that person was important for many, many reasons. Maybe you don't know even why that person was so important to you, but he was or she was. And you see, so what have you done? Have you loved this person very, very much? Have you loved your neighbor? Because it is not only the person you love, it is your neighbor. It is that person who works with you, that person who lives, let's say, close to you, that person you meet once in a while, that person you go, and when you go to a store and you buy something there and you meet that person, and sometimes maybe you're in a bad mood and you just get there and you are not kind enough and you're not kind at all. So what have you done? What have we done about our lives? Have we really lived in a nice way, just getting good things, or just going through life and adding things to our bag in order to go to the afterlife with a very heavy luggage. Is that really what we want to do? And then he goes on and he says, death passes, reaps these dazzling flowers, leaving behind only withered stems. Death is an interrogation mark set permanently in front of us. Let's be serious. It doesn't matter how materialistic we are. Sometimes, well, many times in fact, we must stop and we must wonder, so why and why does it happen? So what happens really when I die? And then if you are really a materialistic person, what happens? You won't have an answer. And maybe what will you do? You just go back and you go back to acquiring things. That's the only thing you can do, because as you have no other idea, you have no other hope, let's say, the only thing that is left for you, it is just to go back and acquire things. More power, more money, more properties, more knowledge. And when I say knowledge, I don't mean not spiritual knowledge. I mean knowledge that you go to books, that you go to school and you have it. And then this kind of interrogation mark, he says here, death is an interrogation mark set permanently in front of us. And why does he say that? Because let's imagine something. Plato, a very long time ago, what did he say about life, in fact? See, if you remember the cave he spoke about, we live, well, life, what is life? We live in a cave. We live inside a cave, a dark cave, and we only see shadows, nothing but shadows. And nobody knows exactly what is happening outside of that cave, in the sun, in all the light. And that's the thing we have to think about when we think about after death. So that kind of thing, isn't it exactly what happens, for example, when we don't think about spiritual things, when we just think that life is just what is happening right now, it is just acquiring things, it is just living it up the way we want to. Isn't it like that? Aren't we just looking at the shadows, only the shadows, and we forget that behind that shadow there is a whole new world, a world that we do not know, a world of the unknown. Not only Plato, but let's think about Seneca too, a Stoic philosopher. And it's really interesting what he said, what he has written, let's say, in one of his works called The Brevity of Life. In Latin it is De Brevitate Vitae. It's a very interesting thing. If you have the time, if you have the chance, you really have to read it. And he says something like this: you must learn how to live throughout your life. And maybe you'll get surprised, but life is nothing but learning how to die. It's something really deep when we think about it. See, so what is life all about? It is learning how to die. And why is it so? Because that's the end of everything. That's the end of our everything, everything we have here on this planet. That's the end of our existence here on this planet. So what is life? What could be life but only that? You see, learning how to die. And why learning how to die? Because as long as you go, see, as long as you go on and on and on and on and on in life, and as long as you do that, and you bear in mind something very practical, something very simple, something like, well, it doesn't matter how much I have here, it doesn't matter how much I want to acquire things, it doesn't matter how much I long for things, I'll die at the end. And when I die, will I bring with me all these things? Will these things go with me? Will they come with me to the afterlife? No, they will not. So why worry so much? And then he goes on and he says something like that. Enormous material progress was made, yet, despite the riches accumulated by civilization, people can still die of privation and misery. Humans are not happier or better. And now, let's think about something. He wrote this in the 19th century. What about the 18th century? What about the 17th century? What about the 2nd century AD? What about the 2nd century BC? What about nowadays, the 21st century? Are we really happier or better because of all the advancement, because of all the riches, because of all the things we have nowadays? All this technology we have, all the things, because nowadays you just have to say, I want this, and I get it. If I have the money, if I know how to acquire that, I can have whatever I want from any part of the world. I just go to the internet, I just go to a site, and I buy it. So, but are we really happy nowadays because of that? No. And he says it's something really interesting what he writes here. You see, that enormous material progress was made, and yet, despite the riches accumulated by civilization, people can still die of privation and misery. That's exactly what happens nowadays, not only in the 19th century, not only in the 18th and the 17th and the 16th, or there in antiquity. It is still the same. So we have acquired lots of things. Yes, we have. The progress we have nowadays is fantastic. But how have we been, what are we doing with that? Are we trying to make this world better? Make people happier? Or we just are, well, the only thing we are doing is just going on and on and on, just enjoying the things we have. See, that's something really interesting to wonder. Then we have something else that he wrote here. It is above all for you, sons and daughters of the people, workers for whom the road is steep and life is hard, for whom the sky is darker and the wind of adversity is colder. It is for you that this book was written. And that's something very, very interesting too. Why is that? Because he says exactly that. He says, look, if you are suffering, if you suffer, if you are here on this planet and you just look around and you ask yourselves, what am I doing here? Why do I suffer so much? Well, this book was written for you and only for you. Well, when I say only for you, of course, everybody has to do that, has to read the book, not only these people, but I mean, it was especially for these people who suffer so much. And why is it so? Because they must have some kind of hope. And you see, and just think, well, it doesn't mean that because you suffer, you just have to say, okay, I suffer, but that's all right. I don't have to try and acquire anything, because after all, I'm going to die. That's not the case. It doesn't mean you have to stop. You have to just sit down and wait for death. That's not the case. You have to fight for things. Of course you do. You have to work. Of course you do. You have to try and get things for yourself. Of course you have to do so. But what it means is, it is not all. It is not the only thing that you have to do in life. That's basically the thing. And then he says, well, to prove that life is neither irony of fate nor the result of stupid chance, but rather the consequence of a law just and fair. And why is it so? Because again, let's think about something. Whatever you do in life, as we spoke about that before, you see in the other video over there, on the other video, that I told you that he said, well, there are consequences. So do not think that whatever you do here, whatever you do now in this existence is nothing. If you do something here, if you do something right now, be sure that the consequence is going to come. So do not think something like life isn't fair. Oh, why has God done that to me? Or because you just say, no, see, there is no justice at all. There is no divine justice. Because you see, I want so much to have that. And that person has it, and I don't. And I have been here just asking God for Him to give me exactly what I want. And what happens? God does not give me what I want. So, there is nothing at all. So, there is no divine justice. That's not true. Let's think about something. In case you have children, for example, do you give your child everything he or she asks you? You never say no. So whatever your child says, I want it, Dad, I want it, Mom, you just say, that's all right, my honey, that's for you over here. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want, I'm going to give you. Whatever you want, just say, and it'll be here for you. Of course not. And why do you say no to your children sometimes? Is it because you are bad? Is it because you are, let's say, you want to punish them? You want to torture them? Not at all. Whenever you say no to a child, you are just thinking, well, that's for your own good. I'm saying no, not because I don't love you, but I'm saying no because you need this no in order to learn this and this and that. It's because you are asking for this right now, but you don't know the consequences for that. See, I mean, for example, imagine a child just says, Mom, I just want to eat cake, cookies. Cookies, okay, that's what I want. I want cookies in the morning, cookies for lunch, cookies for dinner. I want chocolate and whatever. Are you going to say, okay, honey, everything to make you happy? So if you want cookies all day, that's exactly what you are going to have. You are going to have this thing. So, of course not. And why not? Not because you don't like your child, not because you don't love your child, just because you want your child to be okay, to be healthy and happy in life. Then he finishes the introduction beautifully, and he writes something like this. My passage down here was not fruitless if I have succeeded to appease one pain, to enlighten one intelligence seeking truth, to comfort even one faltering and saddened soul. It's a very beautiful thing. And why does he say that? He just says, well, you see, if I have done something good to even one of you, then my life was not fruitless. I have done something great and something beautiful and something marvelous. That's exactly what happens. So you see, as he finishes this way, let's bear in mind what he says here. Let's bear in mind exactly everything. That, you see, the best thing you can do in life is not getting things. It is not getting money. It is not getting material things. No, it is how much you can help people in their journey. Because you see, that's exactly what you are going to take from life. It is how much love you sowed while you were alive. Well, that's the introduction of the book. And the next time we meet, we are going to start the first part, that is beliefs and unbeliefs. And as I told you before, in this part of the book, beliefs and unbeliefs, he's going to go back to antiquity. And we are going to be here talking about Egypt and India and Greece and Rome and all those things, about their gods and their belief systems and so on. And it'll be a great time. So I hope to see you here again next month, okay? So peace and love to you all, and see ya. Goodbye.